Hi, I'm Tom from WarYoga, and today we're going to do a side-by-side look at Iranian meal and Indian Jori. So the two clubs are very similar. They developed kind of separately but off the same stream. The fact is that the Indian Jori or Mugda, a single one is called, have a somewhat longer attested history than the Iranian meal, and there's a possibility that the Iranian meal developed from the Jori when Persian wrestlers went over to the Mughal courts in India and saw the Jori being used, and so they then took these back to Iran and created the meal. Of course, there's controversy surrounding it, and each side will say that they created it, but as far as we know, the first attestation for the Iranian meal are from the period in Iran that coincides with the Mughal period. So these two clubs are swung slightly differently. This is a lighter pair of Jori. They are about the same weight as these actually, just the dimensions are different. These are made of local cherry wood, and these are made of sapele, which is an African hardwood, a bit like mahogany. So let's look at the technique. Let's first look at the Jori technique, because it's a little different. So first of all, I have to load the Jori, as the Indians say, point them to the sky. And from here, with a classic technique from Varanasi, I'll drop one over my shoulder and then drag it along my arm, and my body turns, but my feet remain planted, as so. And I want to kind of keep connection to my body as soon as possible on the kind of collection of the Jori. So I'm going to drop, and as you can see, I've connected already, and I pull down. Now I'm going to do it with a bit more pace, so it's not necessarily going to be apparent that that's what I'm doing, but it's essentially a drop and pull. And so that's the Jori technique. And then when I drop them down lengthwise so that I don't crack the wood. Indian Jori. These can be much bigger than this. In fact, they do enormous weights. This one is a lightweight, like I said, and I really like these lightweight ones because it's a really good chance to hone technique and to get proper technique and movement, which is much better than just using really heavy ones and trying to muscle them around and have poor technique doing it. So the Iranian meal, again, I load them up very similarly. I swing them forward and catch them. But as you can see, even the shape of them is different. They're much more conical, with more of the weight at the end. So the swing feels a little bit different. Now when I swing these, it's the same idea, except I'm not connecting. I can rest it on my shoulder, that's not a problem. But you can also have it off the shoulder. So really good technique is off the shoulder, but resting them on is not a problem. If you go to a Zurkhane in Iran, they'll rest them on the shoulders because they have to do a lot of reps with these. So same technique, except I'm not connecting it at the butt end, which is near my hand. I'm letting it come around and controlling it down. And my feet pivot. You see I have a pivot on the foot for the side I'm turning. And very good technique, the bicep should brush the ear or get very close to the ear. You'll see a lot of people swinging it at this angle, but actually that puts a lot of strain on the shoulders, especially if you go up in weight. But if you let it drop really deep behind the head, you notice the arm comes really high up with it brushing my shoulder. And the pivot of the foot allows the body to turn. I don't have a really wide base. Sometimes with the Joris, you'll notice people with a very wide base, especially for the heavier ones, and that definitely helps. But with the meal, I've kind of got a comfortable shoulder width or slightly narrower foot position. Now I'm just doing the 4 count, which is the WarYoga. To get that technique, and you see the pivot on the feet. When I drop them, I can just drop them down because they're not so long that they're going to hit the ground, and I can just put them back down in front of me. So those are the 2 types of club. They're very similar, they're related. They weren't developed independently, although the meal developed differently from the Jori, and like I said, these Jori are very light. But these are fantastic for practicing with. I would recommend that anyone who wants to start learning the Jori should go with a smaller set like these. These are about 6 or 7 kilos each. These are about 5 kilos each, these 2 meal. And again, going very heavy with clubs can be quite damaging to your body, especially your shoulders. And so it's always better to err on the side of lightness and better technique than it is to try and go heavy and lose technique and potentially injure yourself. There you have it. Meal, Iranian meal, Indian Jori. If you like this video and the content I'm putting out, please make sure to like and subscribe. You can also find all the work I do with WarYoga in my books. I've got 2 WarYoga books. I've got the first WarYoga book about the Indian tradition, and I've got the second WarYoga book called WarYoga Zurkhane, which is about the Iranian tradition. Those are both available on Amazon. There's also the WarYoga website. WarYoga on Instagram is @WarYoga, and you can find me on all social platforms, mostly. Thank you very much.